Did you ever wonder how the spam classifier in your email works? How does it know that an email might be spam or not? Well, one popular technique is something called naive Bayes, and that's an example of a Bayesian method. So let's learn more about how that works. Let's discuss Bayesian methods. So we talked about Bayes' theorem earlier in the course in the context of talking about how things like drug tests could be very misleading in their results, but you can actually apply the same Bayes' theorem to larger problems like spam classifiers. So let's dive into how that might work, and that's called a Bayesian method. So just a refresher on Bayes' theorem, remember the probability of A given B is equal to the overall probability of A times the probability of B given A over the overall probability of B. So how can we use that in machine learning? I can actually build a spam classifier for that, an algorithm that can actually analyze a set of known spam emails and a known set of non-spam emails and train a model to actually predict whether new emails are spam or not. And this is a real technique used in actual spam classifiers in the real world. So as an example, let's just figure out the probability of an email being spam given that it contains the word free. You know, most people promising you free stuff, it's probably spam. So let's work that out. The probability of being spam given that you have the word free in an email works out to the overall probability of it being a spam message times the probability of containing the word free given that it's spam over the probability overall of being free. Now the numerator can just be thought of as the probability of a message being spam and containing the word free, but that's a little bit different than what we're looking for because that's the odds out of the complete data set and not just the odds within things that contain the word free, okay? And the denominator, just the overall probability of containing the word free. Sometimes that won't be immediately accessible to you from the data that you have. If it's not, you can actually expand that out to this other expression here if you need to derive it. So at the end of the day, that gives you the percentage of emails that contain the word free that are spam, which would be a useful thing to know when you're trying to figure out if it's spam or not. What about all the other words in the English language though? So our spam classifier should know about more than just the word free. It should automatically pick up every word in the message ideally and figure out how much does that contribute to the likelihood of this email being spam. So what we can do is train a model on every word that we encounter during training, throwing out things like a and the and meaningless words like that, of course. And then when we go through all the words in a new email, we can multiply the probability of being spam for each word together. And then we get the overall probability of that email being spam, okay? Now, it's called naive Bayes for a reason. That's what this technique is called. And one reason that it's naive is because we're assuming that there's no relationships between the words themselves. We're just looking at each word in isolation, individually within a message, and basically combining all the probabilities of each word's contribution to it being spam or not. We're not looking at the relationships between the words. Okay, so a better spam classifier would do that, but obviously that's a lot harder. So this sounds like a lot of work. The overall idea, not that hard, but scikit-learn in Python makes this actually pretty easy to do. It offers a feature called count vectorizer that makes it very simple to actually split up an email into all of its component words and process those words individually. And then it has a multinomial NB function where NB stands for naive Bayes that will do all of the heavy lifting for naive Bayes for us. So we can actually build a spam classifier with not a lot of code. And included in your course materials is some sample data that includes a set of known spam emails and a set of known ham emails. Ham is what we call an email that's not spam. And let's do it. Let's build a spam classifier.